Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, I'm just hiking a trail right now with my son and our two of our dogs. And the dog that I've got with me he's blind. He's got diabetes, but he's still a hell of a hiker. He operates mostly on his other senses, hearing and smelling and things like that. So he still hikes pretty good. I got to prompt him a little bit. He's starting to get up in age. Go, Kodiak. Go. But we're hiking the Bartram Trail. We just went out for a little bit of a short hike this morning. We've been out here for a little over an hour. It's a beautiful trail in western North Carolina. And it's pretty nice because this trail's literally about, a short while from our house, 10-15 minutes. So it's nice to have a bunch of trails this close to home that you can really get out and away from civilization to recharge and just get back into nature for a little bit. But if you've never hiked any trails in the Smoky Mountains, you're missing out. The trails are very lush, and of course right now we're pretty deep into spring, so everything's greened up. And we do have to keep an eye out though. There are black bears out here. We've had black bears at our house, and it's always something to keep in mind, which is why we like to bring our dogs with us so that they can sense if there is any bears in the vicinity. But luckily so far on trails we have not run into one, even though we've had them on our front porch at our house. But they are out here, so it'd be nice to catch one on video, but I don't know if I want to risk that at the same time. But yeah, you can see how beautiful this is out here. Now my son and I, when we do these hikes, we like to talk about the mysteries of life, of human origins. Is this a simulation or not? Religious theories and such. That's one thing that I've tried to pass down to my two sons, is wanting them to think freely, wanting them to question things and to marvel at the mysteries of life. I've really tried my hardest not to allow my boys to get caught up as NPCs in this realm. But just enough, I want them still to live their lives and pursue their goals and dreams, but at least with one leg in the metaphysical side, so that they still always, in the back of their mind, have that teaching and the things that I've talked to them about as something to anchor them down and allow them to, still, no matter if they go to college or not, or just being in the workforce, to allow them still to question reality and to think outside the box. I've taught them how to interface in with the quantum field, so that can help them reach their goals and dreams in life. I just think it's very important nowadays because so many people are so caught up in the matrix and just operate as total NPCs, as total programmed biological robots. And of course, society teaches people to be this way. You have religions that try to teach people that they're a sheep, just a dumb sinner and worthless, and, you need somebody to save you. They almost act as if you're separate from God, that God isn't part of all of us, that God isn't within all of us. And of course, those teachings go against the teachings of Yeshua. However, religion has put the walls back up around people and kind of pulled people back into the religious matrix. You literally got these evangelists and stuff out there on TV telling people that, give me the $1,000, $1,000 prayer bomb so you can get into heaven and stuff. And people believe this stuff. It's unbelievable. And of course, all that your church is theater. No different than the Roman and Greek times. People used to go to the open theaters and stuff. They used to have these really amazing outdoor amphitheaters that were built on the sides of mountains, and you'd have a view of the background, and they were really majestic. And at the time, people would learn about the gods by going to these amphitheaters, and they would put on plays, and they would have plays about the gods. And of course, they always humanize God or gods. Zeus and, Poseidon and all these other, Greek and Roman gods, The Romans basically took all the gods from the other, from the Zoroastrians and the Egyptians and the Greeks, and kind of made them their own. And of course, when they created the Roman Catholic, or you could say the Constantine character called Jesus Christ, it was an amalgamation of the pagan beliefs of the time, of the Greek mythologies, of Sol Invictus worship and Mithra worship, and some Zoroastrian mixed in with it, and some Assyrian mixed in with it, and Persian. So they really did pull one over on everybody. And they made a religion that made people very docile and, not think for themselves, and rely on government and religion to tell them how to think. Go, Kodiak. Sorry, I'm wondering if the dog's sensing something. He's acting kind of weird right now. He keeps stopping and sniffing. So we could be in the vicinity of something here. I mean, if you look, this is how thick it is out here. I mean, once you're off the trail, it's just, very hard to see through the dense foliage. But it's very beautiful. Look at all these ferns here. Look how green everything is. And then, of course, you have the other end of the spectrum. The other end of the polarity is your people that are not religious. However, they worship a god still, and that god is government and academia. That's who tells them what to think. They fall for the Darwin theory, which is outdated and BS. In Darwin's time, there was no concept of genetics. There was no concept of quantum physics and such. But they still teach your kids that very outdated belief system. It's like it's its own cult. It's like a religion. Hey, I want to show you guys some real quick here. See that mushroom right there? That's actually edible. That's a white coral. But we're not going to grab it. It's just one little piece. But you can see where the animals have already been chewing on it and stuff. That's a full one. That one was probably about the same size, but it's gotten chewed on pretty good, probably by squirrels and chipmunks and such, But if I catch any other edible mushrooms here while we're walking, I'll point them out. This time of year, though, they still haven't popped up completely. Usually when you get into about midsummer into fall is when you really get a lot of mushrooms you can harvest. We're past the morel season. But I have heard that chanterelles are coming up early this year. I was lucky last year. I had some chanterelles pop up right by my front door on my property. And we've had Old Man of the Woods pop up by our front door. We've had Jacksonis pop up. And up the road from us, we found a huge amount of chicken of the woods. But unfortunately, it was really buggy. It was we didn't get much out of it, but by the time I cleaned it up really well and cut off all the bad parts, there wasn't much left. So if we'd caught in that earlier before it got really buggy, it would have been fantastic. And chicken of the woods are amazing, folks. You can literally cut them into like chicken nugget sizes and bread them and fry them. Tastes just like chicken nuggets. So yeah, so kind of getting back to what I was talking about. A lot of people get put under the matrix of academia and government, where they may say they don't believe in God, but they've essentially made government and education their God. And just like religion, a lot of what you're taught in school is BS. My son and I were just talking a little bit ago about psychology. And I told him, I've delved into psychology. There's a little bit of truth in it, but there's also a lot of falsity in psychology. And that is because psychology operates on the premises that your consciousness comes from the brain. Now, it is right in many factors as far as the programming of people, but I teach that consciousness is separate from the brain and the human avatar, that it uses the human avatar as a vessel, as a spaceship, as the space suit, you could call it, to allow yourself to immerse into this third dimension, this low vibratory state from the high vibratory state that you come from, and that the brain is the operating system. Now, the brain is wonderful. The brain is very powerful. I mean, think of the most powerful quantum computer you can imagine, and we all have that in us. That is your brain. But consciousness does not come from the brain, folks. This has been proven time and time again. Academia will not accept this, though, because it challenges all of their other teachings. See, that's why they don't like to talk about quantum physics, and they don't like to talk about genetics, only to a certain degree, because once you delve deep into genetics and into quantum physics, you realize that Darwinism is very farly outdated. I mean, it's very outdated, folks. I mean, you're talking about a belief system from 100 years ago. It's a joke. But the point is to dumb down people, not to educate people and awaken people and enlighten people. It's all designed to dumb people down, to make them NPCs, program slaves, human resources to cover the debt of nations, of the criminals that run the governments, that run the debt up, that devalue your money that you get paid for your labor for and your intellect for. And as you work harder and harder to survive in this realm, they devalue your money every day. They give it to foreign nations. They launder that money back to themselves through NGOs and through lobbyists and through their family that have front businesses set up to collect that money and launder it back to them. This has been all proven. We've all seen what criminals these people are. But this is the realm we're in, folks. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There's majesty in this realm. I mean, look at the majesty of this place. I mean, look how beautiful it is. It's a very beautiful place. And of course, you're not going to get this kind of energy being stuck in the cities. There's a reason why people in the cities fall for the Agenda 2030 sustainability agendas. And that's because they live in a concrete jungle of energies and frequencies that are attacking the human body on a daily basis. And they're operating on a low vibration. And their drive for money and power, they think is going to make their life better. But they don't understand that it just puts them further into the matrix. I would rather live a simpler life in the country, near nature, in nature, where you can ground on a daily basis and you can absorb the positive energies of nature. Unfortunately, I have to work with the public just like most of you do. And I'm not trying to say that in a negative factor, because there is a lot of good people that you run into. That's, how we experience this life, is interacting with other entities, with other energies. However, it does wear you down, especially when you have people that are very negative, or people that are very selfish and arrogant and greedy. And you'll find that in the workforce on a daily basis. So I find coming into nature is a great way to balance out your energies. And I've always said, folks, that we are living in a type of simulation. It's a created simulation. There was a programmer. It is quite obvious. If you think about what you sense as real, all you're experiencing is electrical signals being sent to your brain through the senses. And part of that is also what your sixth sense picks up. And of course, your sixth sense comes from your spirit, from your conscious energy. That is the sense that can go beyond your body. That's the sense that can pick up other people's energies. That's intuitions. That's the ability to heal. That doesn't come from the brain, folks. That all comes from outside the body, or at least from a different vibratory state, which is your conscious energy. And some of you would talk about, well, this voice in your head, the proverbial angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, kind of guiding you through life. Well, that is your higher self. That is the part of your spirit that is not immersed into the human body. That is the part of you that still resides on multiple dimensions, on higher vibratory dimensions. And a lot of you would say, well, that's God. Well, it is God, folks, because you are God. And I don't mean it in the sense that you are the creator of all. I mean it in the sense that you are part of the creator of all. You are a fractal of the creator of all. So you are living in the mind of God, which makes you a part of God, which makes you a God. Now, I know that upsets a lot of people, but this was all passed down. I mean, Yeshua was trying to teach you, don't you know ye are gods? But then religion went and said, no, people can't say that. They need to believe that they're just poor, sinning souls, worthless. And no, you shouldn't be casting out demons and healing people, because that's all pagan. That's all witchcraft. But that was exactly what Yeshua wanted you to do. He even said you could do greater than I. If you tell a Christian that, though, they'll say, what? That's blasphemy. Nobody's greater than Yeshua. Well, folks, because they're following this Jesus Christ character that was created by the church, by the rulers of the time, the ruling elite, by Constantine at the Council of Nicaea. The real Yeshua was a master teacher who studied very many different faiths and practices. In the lost years in the Bible, he was traveling the world. He was learning the mystery schools in Egypt, and there's proof that he was in Egypt with his mother Mary. He was an Essene, a priest of the Essenes, as was John the Baptist and Mary Magdalene. See, Mary Magdalene, folks, was one of his apostles, one of his disciples. But you're not taught that. You're taught it's only men, right? Because religion is typically a patriarchal system, very heavy on the masculine and very weak on the feminine. And it's out of balance because of that. The only way, folks, that you find true balance in this realm is by bringing your dark and light side together, is by balancing out your energies, your divine feminine and your divine masculine that's within you. That's how you find balance in this realm. And not getting polarized to the far right or the far left. When you get polarized, you're easy to manipulate, and that's what divides us as a people. Even though we all come from the same one consciousness. We're fractals of that consciousness. We're unique fractals, and we have personality. Even in the other realm, we have personality. When you go to heaven, it's not like all of a sudden we're all just automatrons and we all think the same and act the same. No, folks. Your consciousness, your personality carries on. And you build on that consciousness and personality as you live in different time periods. As you reincarnate multiple times on Earth, you take a piece of all those personalities that you built on in those lifetimes. And you're an amalgamation of all of those personalities and those experiences and all the things you've learned, good and bad. So we've really touched on a lot here. I find that when I walk in nature, that it's very easy to think clearly, because nature has a way of stripping away the negative energy from you, and it opens up yourself to higher thinking. I'm not calling it channeling. I'm just calling it, that you allow positive energy and thoughts to more easily flow. Thought forms to more easily flow through you. I know a lot of people talk about channeling other spirits and such. And I believe what people are channeling is different aspects of themselves, of their higher self, that is trying to guide them and give them information. I know religious people will say it's all like, demons and stuff. Well, if you're pulling on negative intuition, if you're pulling on negative energies to get your information from, then it could be your part of your shadow self, your polarized dark self, or you could be pulling from lower vibrational entities, getting some of that information. I'm not against the fact that there are low vibrational entities, demons, archons in this realm, and on multiple dimensions. And they're going to be, of course, on lower dimensions, even below this dimension. Oh, there's some more of that coral mushroom there. It's been getting chewed on a little bit on that end. But anyways, guys, I hope you're enjoying this video, this hike through the woods. I hope you're enjoying our talk here, tying a lot of things together. We would have went on a longer hike today, my son and I, but we need to get back because I've got an interview with Forbidden Knowledge TV at 3 o'clock today. So I need to get back and eat lunch and prepare for that. So stay tuned for that. I'll be sending links. I don't know if they're going to send me a copy of that video that I can post on the Exit the Matrix YouTube channel or not. Whenever I've done videos with Our Twisted Universe, they're fantastic because they always cut a video for me. They edit it and then they'll give me my own version of the video so that I can post on Facebook and YouTube. Except lately I've noticed Facebook hasn't been letting me pull up videos. They only shorts, not longer videos. So they're really trying to push us, folks, away from long, in-depth conversations and videos, and they're trying to push everybody into these TikTok-sized videos. And that's to further dumb us down. It's to shorten your attention span. It's to program you so that you can't sit there and think for a while, that you've got to just sit there and just watch, video after video, just keep on scrolling for hours, really learning nothing, just maybe picking up little tidbits of information here and there. But let's be real, folks, a 2-minute TikTok video may have some good information on it, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get much out of it, because you can't go with that short of a video. You can't learn a whole lot. You can't go in depth on any subject. And that's what they want. They don't want you thinking, contemplating. They want to just keep hammering your mind over and over with short videos that hit you with dopamine rushes that get you hooked, but that you don't really retain any information from it. Unless you're smart enough to go, maybe somebody does put out some good info on a short, and then you maybe go and you start looking up that info yourself, and then you can actually get something from that video. But if you just keep scrolling and scrolling, sure, you can run across a lot of videos on those shorts and those TikTok feeds that is going to teach you a few little things, but you can't get much out of a 2-minute video, folks. And you're going to forget it, because as you scroll past it, there's some video about a dog, or some video about a prank, or some car crash video, or some other dumb shit. And at that point, it wiped away what you just watched that was meant to teach you something. And I understand that we need entertainment sometimes. You can't always be just, thinking about these deep subjects, because you can get burned out on that. I get that. Sometimes you need to have some entertainment, watch a movie or something. So I hope you understand that. I'm not saying that it's all got to be about research 24/7, but just be aware. And these short videos are designed to really go after the children, because most of us in our 30s and up are used to watching longer videos. We're used to immersing ourselves in information longer. But these kids are used to just these TikTok videos. That's all they're used to. They don't have the attention spans to sit and watch a documentary for an hour, or a video for an hour that's delving deep into stuff. Sorry, my dog's got to stop and pee about 500 times here. I don't know how he has anything left. But for a blind dog, he does okay, huh? Go. See him just cruising along there. Now, of course, I put him on video. He's going to keep stopping nonstop. Hey, just so you guys know, because I know some of you were concerned about it, my son went in yesterday and got his cast off. They have him just in an arm guard now, like a Velcro one that he can take off and wash his arm and everything. So the bones are doing fantastic. They're healing really good. He didn't have to have any surgery done. He had more than 1 complete break on the upper bone in his forearm, and 3 or 4 fractures in the lower bone on his arm. So, and that was all caused by a dirty cheap shot in a soccer game, a competitive soccer game, where he was beating somebody and they got mad, and so they fouled him basically twice in one instance. And the kid high kicked him right into his forearm and shattered his arm. So it was pretty traumatic, as you can imagine. But I got a lot of help from Exit the Matrix people that were sending their prayers, and people that were sending Reiki and other energy healing, and that helped a lot. It sped up the healing process, and he was able to get through this whole ordeal without taking narcotics. Of course, they gave him, some narcotics to take, for the pain, but he chose not to take them. So he was a trooper dealing with all of that. But for those of you that were concerned, he's doing fantastic. He will be able to try out for his high school soccer team still this summer and go to most of the summer workouts. He's going to be a little limited at the beginning here because he's still got about 3 weeks before he's cleared for full contact sports. So, but that's fine. Considering how bad the injury was, he's bounced back pretty good. And I know I had a few people attack me from the far right. They said, well, why are you asking for prayers? I thought you don't believe in God. See, folks, this is what you call gaslighting. People on the far right, religious people, believe that if you don't believe in their God, that you don't believe in God or a creator. If you don't believe in their concept of God, then you don't believe in the creator or the source of all energy in creation. There's a miscue there. They can't seem to understand that you can absolutely believe in God, but just not their concept. And the funny thing is that those that said, well, why are you asking for prayer healing when you don't believe in our God? Well, it's simple as this, folks. I understand how you interface in with the quantum field. And I understand that because we are fractals of the Creator, that we have dominion over the quantum field. We interface in with it directly. And so when you're asking for prayer healing, it doesn't matter what deity you're praying to or whatever. It's the thought form that you're creating that affects the quantum field. So those prayer energies did help my son, because regardless of, Allah or Yahweh or Yeshua or whoever people were praying to send those prayers out to, they were interfacing with the quantum field, and they were creating positive thought forms that would interact with the quantum field, and all energy is connected into the quantum field, so that way that those thought forms could reach my son and the healing that he needed on his arm. So that's why I didn't have a problem with that, folks. It's just ignorance, that's all. It's that people don't understand how this whole system works. They think that it's praying to a God that's doing this healing. They don't understand that it's their own power doing the healing. Ooh, look at this, folks. This might be our best vista we have. Let's see if you can see this here. You got the Blue Ridge Mountains in the background. We're kind of on the side of a mountain here. We've really been deep in the woods the whole time, and this was really the best view. If we would have kept going down the trail, there's some higher up views, but I hope that still looks pretty awesome for you guys. So anyways, we will continue on. I hope you're enjoying this format, folks. These hiking videos, these hiking talks, because I'll be probably doing a lot of those this year. I like to do a lot of hiking. And I purposely didn't cut a video going up the trail. We're heading back now, back to our car, because I wanted my son to, just me and him to be able to talk without being on video. He doesn't really want to be on video, and I get that. Nothing wrong with that, right? But that way we got our talking through, and that way he knew I could have the camera to myself here to do this talk. And if he wanted to jump in, I would allow him to. For his age, he's very intuitive and very smart. And of course, because of the mysteries of life that I've taught him, he is far more astute than most people his age when it comes to the metaphysical and more advanced sciences and thinking. So go Kodiak. Sorry, my dog's getting pretty tired, so he's starting to just meander. The diabetes has been hard on him. A few years ago, he was perfect, and then he, out of the blue, he got really sick, and we took him into the animal hospital, and it turned out that he had diabetes, and that's what he was getting sick from. And I mean, I kid you not, they even said he could lose his eyesight, and it was like 2 weeks later he lost his eyesight. So he kind of has a slight bit of sight still, like he can see like shadows, I think, out of the corners of his eye, but his eyesight's mostly marbled, so he only gets like little bits, enough that it can help him move around and see obstacles, but not enough that he can see anything in detail. But animals have an amazing way of adapting, just like humans do. How big the trees are out here. That's a dead one there. That one's gonna come down at some point or other. So if any of you are ever in the western North Carolina and you get a chance, this Bartram trail is fantastic. It's a really well-maintained trail. There was only 2 places in the trail that we had to climb around down trees. So that's not bad. And there is some creeks, runoffs on this trail where you can let your dogs get water. I do have a Camelback backpack on. I always bring supplies just in case, because you never know what can happen when you're in the woods. You can get caught up in a storm. You can get lost. You can have an animal attack you. There's a lot of things you got to prepare for. So I always bring our gear, even if it's only going to be like a 2-hour hike. And then, of course, we've got nice ice cold water here on my back from our well, which is amazingly good water. But here's one of those little spots I was telling you about where you can get your dogs some water to refresh themselves. Look at over here. Somebody actually kind of built like a little pool with some rocks so dogs can drink out of that really good. But a lot of the trails here in the Appalachians have water sources like this for hiking with your dogs. And if you have like one of those life pens or life straws, whatever they're called, that you can drink out of, that have they're like carbon filters built into a straw, you can always fill up your water, your canteen, in streams like that. I would caution against drinking directly out of the water, because a lot of these water sources up here are still clean, but you still never know. We still get, let's just say, things sprayed in the air that makes a haziness in the sky that can fall to the ground and into the streams, if you get my meaning. Just like you would around the cities or anything else. We just luckily don't get that as much out here as you see, when you do go down to the cities. Like when we go down to Charlotte or something, I mean, it's just non-stop. The skies are bad. We get a little bit of a break from that out here, but like I mentioned on Friday, I knew it was going to storm real bad this Memorial weekend, because Friday it was really hazy and they'd been out early in the sky, and sure enough, we had torrential downpours all weekend. It ruined the whole weekend as far as doing any kind of family get-togethers or barbecuing, grilling outside. And I think that was designed because they really don't want us connecting with each other. They really want us being holed up in our houses, watching their propaganda 24/7. They don't want you exchanging ideas with your family members and such. They don't want you connecting with people and building relationships. They want to destroy relationships, and that's what they do with their division tactics and of religion and politics and such. One of the oldest playbooks of war, divide and conquer. It's been the easiest way to manipulate and control humanity for thousands of years. Instead of letting people all come together as one and work together regardless of differences of ideas and thoughts. See, I look at the Tower of Babel differently than most of you do. For one, I know who the God in the Old Testament was that destroyed the Tower of Babel. And you've been taught that was bad, that humanity was working together under one language and one, working together cooperating towards a goal. You've been taught in your Old Testament that that was bad of humankind, that it was evil, that how dare these people, create this monolithic structure, that there was a reason why they wanted to reach the heavens and overthrow the gods. Not God, like the Bible says, the gods. Well, it's simple as this, folks. The Anunnaki, they had flying ships, and they were lording it over the people of the time. And people were tired of their tyrannical rule, and they wanted to overthrow them. I mean, the Igigi, the Anunnaki working class, rebelled against the Anuna, the royal class. That's why Adam and Eve were created, why the Adamu, the Adapa, was created, was to replace the Igigi worker class with smaller, more easily controlled Homo sapiens to do the work of the gods. That's all in the Atra Hasis. And it's also, it is also same information you could find in the Epic of Gilgamesh, in the Enuma Elish, and you can find in the Enki and Ninmah tablet, where they're talking about genetically modifying the human species in a laboratory setting. So the Tower of Babel, folks, was humanity trying to overthrow these rulers. They thought they could build a tower to the skies, that they could reach their spaceships and overcome them and rebel. And of course, Enlil, Yahweh, the Canaanite storm god, had their tower destroyed. And then they took these peoples, they gave them new languages, they put new genetic markers on them based on the likes of each of the overlord Anunnaki ruling over them, spread them around the world. And by genetic markers, I mean that's where you get the different races. They genetically created the different races. They genetically modified the different races. So that way they could say, well, these ones are my people, and these ones are my people, and these ones are your people. And then because they were spread out from each other for so long, they developed their new languages and new writing systems. And now what they did was they divided and conquered humanity. You understand how this works, folks? See, a lot of the stories in the Bible are real stories. It's just you've been taught to view them from one perspective. But if you change your perspective and you view it in a different lens with the understanding that the Old Testament was about the multiple gods, about the Anuna gods that were warring with each other for control over Earth and for different dominions of Earth, then you'll understand what those stories are truly about. But you've been taught that was the good God, right? That humans were so evil we had to destroy them, just like in the flood, right? Well, it wasn't God's fault he had to destroy everybody, right? I mean, everybody was corrupt and evil, except for his chosen ones, right? See the BS in that whole story, folks? You mean even babies were corrupted? Oh, yes, they were genetically modified. Folks, we are a genetically modified species. Even current day geneticists will agree with that. They'll talk about around 200,000 years ago, we had smaller brains before that, the original hominids that were on Earth, and somehow our brains tripled in size, and somehow two of our telomeres were fused together. We have 2 less chromosomes than other primates. And this was an artificial thing done in a laboratory. This was not a mutation or some kind of Darwin style, adaptation. This was a manipulation by a higher technologically advanced species of the human DNA. And it's interesting to note that the Sumerian Kings list goes back about 200,000 years, and that the original rulers of Earth in the Sumerian list lived for some of them for tens of thousands of years. And then you'll notice through time, as they interbred with this new species they created and further hybridized the species and intermixed their bloodlines in with it, you can see that their lifespans got shorter through time, and then their children, the demigods, were the ones ruling, like Gilgamesh. Think of Hercules, think of Samson. And go Kodiak. Sorry, my dog's being really annoying right now. I think he's about done with this hike. But you'll see that those lifespans by those kings were shortened over time until the last kings before the flood, their lifespans had been dramatically shortened. And of course, we know that humans were later on genetically modified and our lifespans were capped out at 120 years. But their demigod children were able to live for hundreds of years. And you'll see the same correlation in the Hindu Vedic texts, and you'll see the same correlations in the Egyptian texts. The Egyptians talk about a time when the gods ruled and they lived for tens of thousands of years. Think of Thoth and Ra. And then as the pharaonic lines came into power, their demigod children, their lifespans continued to shorten over time until they had similar lifespans as human beings. Now, to this day, the royal bloodlines try to protect those bloodlines, and they try to continue on those bloodlines, but they've been diluted for so long, and because of interbreeding, they had a lot of genetic problems. And so the royals had to add in some non-royal blood to strengthen their blood, but it further diluted their blood at the same time. It was a double-edged sword. That's why you have these people like this King Charles clown that actually think that they're a king, that they're royal. All they are is just they got a speck of that royal blood passed down by the Anunnaki. But the thing is, folks, we all do. They just may have a little more than we do. And they may be protecting certain bloodlines within the Anunnaki pantheon, whereas we all have their genetic markers on us from the beginning, from Adapa, from Adamu. I hope I've shed some light on all of this. We've covered a lot of different subjects here as we're walking through the woods, but I felt I needed to lay all this out for you. And if you don't believe what I've talked about, that's fine, but I would hope that you at least research a few of these subjects, and you'll actually find that more than likely I'm spot on with a lot of this. And that's what I've always been about, folks. I don't want you to think like I do. I want you to think for yourself, but I want you to research and study on your own. A lot of you that laugh at me about the cuneiform and say that the Bible is the only truth, like you guys actually literally believe that there were scribes writing down the Bible as it happened real time, which it did not. Most of the New and Old Testament were written AD, in fact. And the oldest Old Testament books only go back to about 600 BC, and that would be the book of Job is the oldest known book. Now, any other Paleolithic Hebrew that goes way back still is less than 1,000 years BC. And you laugh at me because I talk about the stories that come from tablets that are as old as 4,000 BC, which makes them 6,000 years old. And you laugh at me about that and say that your book's the right book. Do the math, folks. I mean, it's as simple as that. And isn't it interesting how the Bible has all the same stories? Well, of course, because the Hebrew scribes, the Levites, the tribe of Benjamin and Judah, they had access to the Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian, and Assyrian tablets, cuneiform, and to some of the Canaanite and the Hittite. Those were all held in the giant libraries. You've heard about the Library of Ashurbanipal. Well, folks, Nebuchadnezzar was the ruler of Babylon at that time that they conquered the southern tribes, Benjamin and Judah. And when they were brought into captivity, he allowed their priest class, their ruler class, to have access to these tablets. Where do you think they adapted these stories from, folks? It doesn't take a whiz to understand this stuff. It's simple. And of course, what will you do? If you take somebody else's story, you're going to make yourself the hero in the story, right? Think about it. That's what the Greeks and Romans did, the same things. They took their gods and adapted them off of these other much older gods. And of course, they make themselves the heroes in the stories, just like the Judeans did. Get mad at me all you want, folks, but it makes sense, right? I mean, you can believe the fairy tale that, that the Sumerian cuneiform was all written by demons to try to throw you off the true story, right? But yet you believe in this Old Testament jealous God named Yahweh that says, I do great evil and I do great good. This Canaanite storm god who once had a wife that was worshipped by the Hebrews called Asherah. In fact, the first temples of Yahweh also had a part in the temple for the worship of Asherah, his wife. And you would scoff at that and say, oh no, God's the only God. Yahweh's the only God. There was nobody but him or before him or after him. Folks, don't you understand? All you're doing is falling for propaganda. I've told you, religion is part of the control matrix. And if you can't understand this at this point in your life, I'm sorry. One day it will click, but you know what? I'm putting some seeds in your mind. And you may laugh at me now, but someday you may come back and be like, damn, I did my own research. I studied the Atrahasis, the Enuma Elish, and I started realizing that you were just connecting dots. That's it, that I didn't see, because I believe that the only truth came from my book that I've been propagandized and programmed to read since the day I was born. And that I've just gone to churches because that's all I've known. And if you're a Muslim, it would be the same with the Quran. I know, I get it from the Muslims too. They attack me all the time saying that I'm heretical and speaking against Allah, the true God. They don't even know that Allah is one of the Anunnaki. It's Nanar Sin, the moon god. That's why their symbol is the crescent moon, because that was Nanar Sin. Sin means moon. That was Nanar Sin's symbol. So they're worshiping Nanar Sin. That's who Allah is. And Yahweh is Enlil, the god of the air, the god of war. In the Zoroastrian faith, he was called Ahura Mazda. Same deity, different names. He was Zeus. Enki was Poseidon in the Greek. And of course you had Inanna Ishtar, who was a major player in all these times. She was also Kali in the Hindu. See, all these gods connect to the Hindu deities also, folks. All these same stories you can cross-connect them to the Hindu Vedic text also. So, hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut the video off. Our whole way back, I did this video that gives you an idea of how long our hike was. It was about an hour in and an hour out. So we're almost out of here. So I don't want to catch anybody just happen to come up the trail now. So, hey, I appreciate you guys. I'd love to hear your feedback. Please subscribe and share videos and content from Exit the Matrix. Come find me on all the platforms. And I appreciate you guys. So we'll talk to you later.